Welcome back to Hacker Hangouts. I am so excited to be back around. Oh my gosh, we've it's been so long, and we're talking about one of my favorite topics, which is DEF CON. And we're in planning mode. Gowrie, we haven't talked in far too long, and there is no Ctrl+Z for DEF CON 31. We're doing it live, and more than that is it feels like we're winging it. So this, as we've always said on this podcast, is a shameless excuse to hang out, to plan, to talk through DEF CON 31. I'll be sharing out some of the maps because those are released now to know where things are. First day, we'll probably go on through. And then I also want to pick both your brain and Gowrie's brain on video ideas that I think would be a ton of fun, but also remarkably, maybe some of them might be easy, some of them might be a little harder. But welcome. Chad, I see you in chat. Welcome. I have no idea why we're like 30 seconds delayed on live, but we'll get through it. It'll be a beautiful thing. Gowrie, you're cracking me up because while the timer was going down for thumbnails, you know what did you say to me? What were you doing at the time?
I was booking my flights.
Yeah,
what?
That's insane to me.
You don't. Why? We're only a couple of weeks out. Like, this is about when I normally book my flights.
I think I booked mine like months ago. What's weird though is when I booked mine, they were relatively inexpensive, and then they went from like $400 or $500 to jumping to like $1,700, and they still haven't come down.
Well, that's because you're flying first class, because you're an important person.
Yeah. We've talked about this. This is my one guilty pleasure I allow myself for DEF CON. I have had the most miserable, horrible flights known to man, though Bunny and Skyria have now topped me because they were this past week, they were stuck in a plane for 8 hours in Chicago, which is it's a 4-hour drive. Yeah, on the tarmac. It's a 45-minute flight from Chicago to Detroit. And it's legitimately 8 hours. They could have driven there and back faster than the amount of time. Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
Last year my flight was canceled, it was Spirit, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I think it was last year. It was Spirit Airlines decided to cancel my flight at 10 p.m. before my 10 a.m. takeoff. So I had to rebook. And now that the only option I had was first class to rebook. So I can't go back with the peasants now. I can't do it. So that's that. And also, like, most of the other trip is covered for me. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's the one thing I have to pay for.
But my dad has started flying first class pretty much exclusively, and he says he can no longer fly with the goats and the chickens. So Silk doesn't fly with the goats and the chickens anymore.
Well, the thing that leveled it up was the fact that they had like a meal, and it's a airplane food, but it's still a meal. And like there was something about sipping like a cup of coffee on an airplane, which is it's horrible. It's horrible coffee, but drinking out of a real mug while being in flight was like the weirdest experience.
No, the weirdest experience, honestly, and then we'll get on to DEF CON. The weirdest experience is when they hand you a metal knife with your food, and you're like, I'm not allowed to have this. Who? You're just handing this to every passenger? Are you crazy? Right? No. Oh, the Digital Tinker said, "What? You're only just planning now? Planning is a strong word. I would not say we're planning."
I will say this year, previous to last year. So last year, Hacker Warehouse gave us like a 10x10 booth, which was awesome. I talked to Garrett, Hacker Warehouse. He offered to do it again, which is awesome. Like, again, fantastic. We have this banner now. But there was kind of like, Gowrie me and you went back and forth on this, which was, is that what we want? Is that what we want to be able to do videos? It kind of kept us there. There was tremendous benefit to it. But I realized in saying no to it, which probably worth talking about, I don't have to bring tons of equipment now. I'm not bringing like Rodecaster and extra monitor and tripods and XLR cables and multiple sets of headphones. So
I had an entire suitcase dedicated to just equipment, and I think I used maybe 1/10 of it.
Yeah. I think I used most of mine, but it was also like I had to bring like a Mac Mini to run the stream. I had to bring capture cards and all of this, and it was a miserable. There was so much. I was like having a panic attack because I had to check thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment, and that was
Oh, then
terrifying.
leaving it at the booth as we would go out and do field stuff, and yeah, it was nice when it was all set up in there, but it was definitely a logistical nightmare to manage.
I would agree, Chad. It was a great setup. It was a lot of fun, but it worked really well for that year. I mean, we'll say for as goofy as it sounds, like for you're at Caesar's Forum, which is ginormous, and having the ability for people to come and meet at the booth. Otherwise, there was nowhere to meet. But I mean, let's have the discussion now, which was probably the rationale of why we didn't go with the booth this year. My reason was actually a simple one, which was when we looked at the videos that we did last year. 49 videos, one short of 50. Though I think there was actually a 50th. It was 49 published, and then there was like a few shorts we never actually pushed out. A lot of our videos were on here is this thing, here is this badge, here is this item, like that, like hacker boxes and things like that. Or we would go out and we'd do the villages and say, here is this thing. This is the red team village. This is demo labs. And while those videos were really fun and they were great and they accomplished here is DEF CON, it didn't accomplish like what I wanted, which was like, what is the feeling you get at DEF CON? Like, what is like the googly eyes all over the place, the environment feeling of it, of stumbling on it. I think like my favorite video was stumbling on the X and Or vending machine
Oh
and
yeah,
being able to like see people like try and physically breach it.
I think honestly that was like the video is like 2 minutes long and there's not much talking in it. It's like one of my favorite videos
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't realize, like, I had seen the vending machine all weekend and I didn't realize that it was a CTF.
Mm-hmm.
And like you had to hack some box on the internet and it would give you a code that you could type into the vending machine, and then there was the physical challenge of just you can steal whatever you want out of this if you can get it out. You're just not allowed to break the glass. Which is, the most effective method is the hammer method, right?
It's true. And I think that was the thing for me, is like I wanted this year, if we would have gotten a booth, I feel it would have been a repeat of a lot of like, here is this thing. And this year, my hope, because I've never shot in type of like vlog style sounds a little goofy, but these let's go on an adventure together type feeling of let's go and find something at Scav Hunt. Let's go and find all the googly eyes and let's converse with more people. I think that's the other piece of it, because it sounds like a weird way of saying it, because it was a COVID year. Like, it's not like it hasn't gone away, but because of that, there was a lot of planning which didn't involve a ton of people, just because we weren't sure how people would want to interact. And so it was a lot of like go and do stuff. Where this year, I also want to do I think the video I have planned, which I think would be a lot of fun, is what is a hacker? And being able to interview people, because even on this channel, we've had arguments about what is a hacker? What is the definition?
That would make a really good video. Just consistently throughout the con asking people, just, hey, what is a hacker?
Yeah.
The kind of ridiculous nonsense people come up with.
Mouse of Madness. One of my favorite parts is how all of the people there just do the standard Vegas vacation or some other convention, stare at all of us covered with our gear. Oh yeah.
Like,
so the idea, I can't imagine going to Vegas not knowing that. I mean, DEF CON's huge, so you could actually just avoid it and never know it's happening. Or Vegas is huge, but yeah, I'd have to imagine walking through it would be in seeing it, because you have all these different people.
Nerds.
Is probably the best way of saying it.
Nerds. Are we gonna mask? I'm gonna feel it out when I'm there. I'm gonna have masks on me. If people are uncomfortable, I'll put it on. If we're doing videos and things like that. If they're not, if we're just walking about, probably not. I think it is highly suggested that folks wear masks. But the problem with it on video is it screws up the auto detection on the eyes.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it'll probably be on and off depending on the situation.
Yeah, I think that was it. It's funny, even at the peak of COVID, where we like at the first year, I was frustrated at masks, and I always laughed with Gowrie because I'm like, I probably can't even talk about this because it comes across weird, but I hated masks because it ruined every video. It made the audio muffled. Like forgetting the actual health concerns and just self worrying about my own videos. It screwed up autofocus. So like one of the things I don't want to do in video is like pan the entire crowd and have them in focus, but it
Yeah.
also makes videos really goofy when you're shooting them into a wall and it's like, hey, it's just me in this room. Meanwhile, like hundreds of people are like hacking and doing hardware hacking or soldering or whatever. This year we don't have to worry about that if we're not wearing masks. There's
What
also like go on.
What I don't think I'll be doing is going to parties. They're functionally just COVID holes, right? So like, I don't think I'll be going to. I may pop in, but if I'm going to a party, I'll most certainly be wearing a mask. Just because I had pretty much all of our friends got COVID last year. Last year was COVID con, man.
It was the one funny one for me was like every year I'll always get what's called con crud, and it has pre-COVID, all of that back DEF CON 20. It was you'd still get it like you'd still because you're Vegas. There's all the smoke in the air like that's less now because like but like and then you're shouting at people because it's so loud and then all of a sudden it's like you come back with this like congestive grossness. I didn't get it those years, which was kind of nuts. But no, I that kind of answers the question. It's like I highly recommended on video. You probably never see us have them mainly because I want autofocus on. And I think the other thing I'll do with video this year, which I always felt like it was harder to do voiceovers. So if I wanted to show something in front of me, I couldn't get my voice in it because we did everything in one take. Everything was one take to minimize editing. Where I think this year we're planning a little bit more to do, okay, let's shoot the video, let's then hand B-roll, and then have an editor which we can just like send it to where they go, cool, here's the video, drop B-roll on top and push the video out. Because DEF CON has requested that the videos get pushed out live.
Yeah. So Crypto said people go to parties, will be at the conference the next day. Yeah, but like think about this contextually, right? So you go to a party, you're hanging out, you're having drinks, and you're functionally spitting at each other because you got to shout over the music or whatever else is going on. And so there's a lot more cross-contamination in that sense than us running around spending 1 to 2 minutes with people at a reasonable distance, having a conversation, playing show and tell, right? Like that, the context matters. And again, like I said, if somebody or a group wants to do a video with us that doesn't feel comfortable not being masked, I'll put a mask on. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind. Whatever makes people comfortable, right? It's just a matter of practicality and the realities of doing video. So as I said, on and off. But like I said, I won't be going to parties for exactly that reason.
It's funny, your reason for not going to parties is that. My reason for not going to parties is because I always go, because I'm still a photo goon on top of video as well. So it's like, what am I taking photos of? A bunch of people standing around talking? It's like, no, I want to go to where like the DJs are hopping or the neon LEDs are going and people are doing the
where the people aren't.
Like I think the coolest room I stumbled across, which I guess was a party, but it was I don't know if it was track 1 or track 2 or whatever the track was. Here, I share this out. Let me see if here we go, sharing. Oh, there we go. It goes live. Is they like rip down?
It looks exactly the same as last year. Actually, it not quite because all the tracks on the left side are not broken out into smaller rooms. Track 2 is bigger.
So they grabbed. I don't know which one it was. It was like might have been track 2. It wasn't contests. I know that for sure, and we'll jump into some of this. But I don't even think it was the chill out. But we stumbled on this. I guess party. I don't know if wherever you went to a show or something like that. Probably Thunder from Down Under is where you were. And I went wandering and I found these foosball tables they had set up, which were like 20 people foosball. Like I have pictures of it. I don't know. I have to find a better place to actually put photos this year. But they were these like you could go 5 people. I think it was either 5 or 8 people on both sides. It was awesome. You wandered in this room and people were playing that. They had arcade systems set across all around the room. So there was like Pac-Man, and I think they had like DDR at one place, just Dance Dance Revolution. And it was so cool just to walk in and see people hanging out. And maybe there was the novelty because this was like in the height of still like, hey, social distancing and all of that, to kind of see people mingling. It was novel. But yeah, why would I go to like a hotel room packed with people when I can like go out and actually get video? The one party I will go to, and I had never done this until 2 years ago, was the pool parties. Those are a blast.
Those are awesome. Honestly, like, so DEF CON 29 was really like the ultimate DEF CON for me because of how small it was and how lit the pool parties were. Like, the pool parties were amazing. And you had a poolside DJ, people just playing with tons of the inflatable beach balls and stuff in the pool, and just having that was a blast. And of course, doing glamour shots with Silk.
I love how those ones have come up. I know the funniest one is I won't be able to push the button right now because I think it's on another like scene thing, but I have it like hotkeyed, and so Ecamm is the software we use. And I use this as a virtual camera at work because then I can share stuff a lot quicker. And I had it hotkeyed. I had 2 of them hotkeyed. I had your glamour shot where I could push up and it would just randomly like float across the screen. And then I have you in a loincloth, which was like we found back in your movie shooting, like back when you were like an actor and whatnot. And that one popped up. And it popped up with a contractor who was doing our project management, and I had to explain to her, I'm like, oh gosh, okay. So I do it was so many ways I put my foot in my mouth. I'm like, so we do live streaming. She's like, and she knew what was happening. She interacts with us all the time. And she's like, so what kind of live stream is it? I'm like, oh, son of a, you've gotten me now. And I just push the button. So I've removed those buttons from the default panel. So I can't just have you pop up on demand. Oh, that was so embarrassing.
Well, that breaks my heart. What? You mean I can't be in all of your meetings? Oh,
gosh. It was at least
not everyone wants to see my gloriously pale body.
At least it was a private meeting. Like, oh gosh.
Crypto, you missed it. He asked if we're going to do the stream booth again. We are not doing the stream booth again, in part because the logistics of doing it kind of takes away from us getting around and actually talking with people. It causes us to do a lot more timing and planning. There's a lot more gear we have to bring. So we're trying to go boothless this year. Boothless.
The one I'm tempted to bring is like last year it was a lot of equipment. There's a couple pieces of equipment I kind of go back and forth on bringing. Like you shoot with a gimbal, which is you hold the gimbal and do that, of whether or not just to bring a tripod and section it off or bring that again. It was great for B-roll, but it's kind of like cameras have gotten so good with their stabilization, and you can like hit a checkbox to stabilize them with the gyroscope. I'm tempted not to bring it just so we can be a little lighter as we run around.
I like the gimbal. You should bring it. It makes everything. It also makes the video smoother. So
that's true.
Out of all the things, I would say bring that one for sure.
Okay. I mean, it's not that big.
I'm looking at the maps. One thing that I think is amazing is they brought the hardware hacking and soldering skills village back to the forum. Because I remember last year, like you would go to contests or vendors, get stuff, and then have to walk all the way over to the other building.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. Oh, the vendors room is
awesome
tiny too.
I didn't even notice that I haven't looked at the maps nearly as much. So like, let's look at it. Like all of this stuff is expected. So you come down the escalators. For anyone who's been there, you come down the escalators. You then press room and lost and found and reg. Track 1, track 2, chill out. That was there before, right? Yeah, that was
the chill out room. And track 3 was vendor instead of the current track 3 used to be vendor.
Exhibitors is new. Can I zoom in more? No, I am not able to zoom in more. Uh, Exhibitors is new. That one
What
I
is
will be.
exhibit?
So exhibitors is kind of an interesting thing. There
Oh,
are
is that
you
like
have Yeah, so you have
go ahead.
vendors, you have like the vendors, and then there would be like University Advancing Technology, and they would set up in the
Yeah.
vendor room, but they weren't like selling anything. And then you'd also have, we'll say, sponsors like was it Rapid Seven, and I'm trying to remember who the other one who threw Qualis kind of does it, but like they're kind of vendors, but they're not selling anything. So they want to kind of like split it up where vendors are actually selling T-shirts, like Hacker Warehouse, Hack Five, like places that are
Yeah, yeah.
actually selling stuff. Starch Press, and then exhibitors are people who are like it's actually a place I would say like if you're looking for a job too, which is usually like remarkably
Yeah.
difficult. But you have like Google will probably be there, and they may have a booth
Well,
where they're talking and
so
whatnot.
let's talk about this for a second. So this is a good example of DEF CON changing over the years. DEF CON has never had an exhibitor section, right? If you wanted to, as a company, come in and do something for the community, it was youth running a contest of some kind, of
Or a
some
party,
sort, right?
sponsoring a party.
Or a party or something like that. I would say that traditionally, the quote unquote exhibitors room is a black hat thing in the sense that black hat is a giant corporate circle jerk where they have a massive exhibitors room with every company known to man schlocking whatever garbage they've made this year, right? And you go there, you pay just to get into the exhibitors room so that you can look at people's advertisements, right? I'm sorry to
Yeah.
like talk bad about it, but that's kind of, I've been a couple of times and that's kind of how I felt. And it's just, I do enough of those trade shows, if you will, in my day-to-day job that I don't need to do one when I'm in the hacking community. It's not where the interesting stuff is anyway.
Uh,
Um,
I'd counter it a little bit, and I'll
okay.
actually I'll double down and I'll counter, which is GurCon, which is one out of Grand Rapids. Great conference, but they took a very different approach than DEF CON, which made them get bigger a lot faster. DEF CON started as like grassroots, like we're gonna go hang out in Vegas, and then we're
Yep.
gonna hang out with more people and more people and more people, and it just kind of got huge. GurCon said, we want to rent out the Van Andel, which is like a giant conference thing. They're not going to be able to do that without money. So the only way they got money was they go, hey, vendors, if you give us money, we will give you a booth and we will encourage everyone to go there. And in order for you to get like free food or free beer or whatever it was, you could go to the vendor hall or the exhibitors hall and get them to like stamp your little like card.
Yeah.
And then you'd get free food from it. It worked out well for them because they were able to grow super fast. They had a bunch of money up front and all of that. It also felt remarkably gross. It felt so
Yeah.
gross. I think DEF CON has an
Well,
ability to do this, and then I'll let you go. DEF CON has an
yeah.
ability to do this in a way that GurCon did it gross. Again, I will take any hacker conference. I don't care how they do it. Like, I'll take it. So it's not a slight on GurCon. They were able to get really big. DEF CON, though, has an ability to do something Black Hat couldn't. Black Hat grew. They get money with sponsors. DEF CON doesn't need them, so they have an ability to control it a
Mhm.
lot more because it's not a necessity. And they can also block people out and say, hey, nope, you're not allowed in the exhibitors. You still have to go through approval process like everything else.
Yep. Yeah. And so like what I was saying is that traditionally DEF CON has not had an exhibitors room. And I think that's what's made DEF CON special for a really long time. And as we see over the years, DEF CON changes, it evolves, not a bad thing. And so I'm going to be interested to see if, what they've done in this room, because if it ends up being like the Black Hat exhibitors room, is not going to go over well.
It's just gonna be a big empty room. Oh god, that's going
Well,
to
I
be a
mean,
little awkward if you just go
yeah.
past it and there's just no one in there.
Well, because like I think the average person who goes to DEF CON is not going to see those things. They're it's a celebration in many senses of hacker culture, but also, what have you hacked this year and fun stuff. And so I would expect and I would hope that the exhibitors in that room are primarily there doing something along those lines with a little bit of give and take, right? So I'm expecting it to, still be by and large, a way for a company or a group to advertise themselves and what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, like that's what I'm saying. This is an interesting evolution. So I'm not going to say that I'm not poo-pooing the idea, just to be clear. I think the idea of having an exhibitor's room is a very good one. I also like the fact that they did not make it large, right? Like,
Yeah,
if
it's
if
really
I
not
remember
that big.
correctly, if I remember correctly, that room last year was the car hacking room, and or the car hacking village, and it really wasn't that big. It's also attached to the chill out room, which means that you can grab a beer and just kind of walk through and see what's there. So I think that they did a smart placement on that. So I'll be interested to see what's
It's not
actually in there.
open to the chill out room too, which I will say you'll have to go back out into the hallway and then come back in.
Oh yeah, you're right.
The way
Yeah,
I'm
it's not
thinking
dotted lines. It's solid.
about it is the aerospace village. If we remember how big that was, I think that's in the same place it was last year. It's like you remember where the flight simulator was? It's a really small space now that I think about
Yep.
it. So I'm curious. I don't know. We'll see how it is. That one I'm interested in. I am freaking pumped for this area. So
The policy room.
contests. So yeah, policy room. That's the one. That's that right there. And that and the written information security policy. That one right there. That's where I would. No, like contests by
It's
and
huge.
large is my favorite place to just sit forever. I could go. You can go to the contest room and never leave and have the best DEF CON ever if you never leave that room. The fact that that's there. The CTF, well, it's interesting, but it's not interesting unless you're competing. I'm sorry, it's just not fun to watch. They've tried. I'll counter that. Historically, it has not been fun to watch whatsoever. Last year, though, that was flippin' cool. Where they did they had like the two hackers over here, hacker team over here, hacker team over here, and then they'd go, okay, you from this team, you from this team, you're going head to head on this challenge. And then you could see like the live cogs working and them talking through it.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I think last year was let's learn how this works. Let's get the bugs out of it, figure out if it works, figure out tuning the challenges. This year is the let's excel at it year, and then yet next year is how do we move on to something else? But this year will be freaking cool.
Do you know if they're doing live CTF again?
I hope they do, because that one I would like to sit and watch, and it makes CTF fun to watch. While you're looking at that, I want to.
Oh yeah, they're doing it live at DEF CON 31.
Really?
Yeah, quals. So yeah,
Nice.
It looks like they're doing live CTF again. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be a blast.
And it'll be fun to find out what they've done differently this year, because there's always something different. It's fun to watch a new group take over and do something new, and then start to perfect whatever it is that they've decided to do. For sure.
The one which I'm curious about is, I think this year will be another year they expand the topics a little bit. Because what ends up happening is, you notice this at Hack Fortress, one of my favorite contests. Love the people who run it. But what ends up happening is I forget her name, and I feel remiss forgetting it. But she was forensics. She knew forensics really well. So well, in fact, that she made a string of challenges. No one could solve them. Not because they were necessarily difficult, but forensics tools are one of those ones you kind of need in your back pocket in order to just whip them out for legitimately a 5-minute contest. I think it goes 15 minutes or 12 minutes, but it's really not long for you to go. It takes me that long just to install some of the tools on crap internet sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's same kind of thing goes to this CTF is guys behind Binary Ninja. Clearly that is where they're going. And it will be cool if they expand it out to some of the new technologies a little bit. Blockchain. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Though it is interesting. You said something earlier, which I wrote. You saw me turn over and write it down. Was we talked about doing a video on what is a hacker. It would be really interesting to do the same type of video as what have you hacked this year? Because that's going to be all over the map, from car is this. I had, I had I had this type of patch. Like even hearing you talk about like, oh, you have a kernel patch you did, which is
Oh yeah, I
awesome.
did some kernel hacking and some not in the traditional sense of cobbling things together and making them work. Oh my god, uh, I reported I think like 4 or 5 bugs to the AMD BIOS team for their new systems because I'm
Really?
pulling my hair. Yeah, I'm pulling my hair out over certain, and it's not just AMD. There's this new technology called CXL and all these new devices that aren't on the market yet, and we're kind of testing some of them. And so finding bugs in BIOS, that's a new one for me. Like that's fun. It like you're sitting down and you're just having to read out like PCIe registers and stuff like that and make really quick hacked up drivers to try. It's not hacking in the DEF CON sense, but it's hacking in the traditional sense of just cobbling stuff together to make it work. And then you figure out like, oh, it's not working because the BIOS didn't set these hardware registers, and so I got to go talk to the BIOS team at whatever vendor. Well, that's fascinating. Like that's a new one for me.
It's cool
Uh,
that I found like when you're doing these things, it's something new. One of the things I've been doing in the background is a lot of like the LMM, and a couple of our clients are now trying to leverage this, and they're leveraging it into existing tools. So like being able to finally do prompt injection in a way that's like it's not like, oh, I'm just trying to jailbreak yet again ChatGPT, but actually going, okay, they're storing private information in the prompt and then coming up with here is why you don't do that. That has been weird because it's like social engineering. It's prompt injection has to be like one of the funnest things I get to do. Like not occasionally, but you're like social engineering a robot, which is hilarious to me.
oh, good. There is an AI village. I was just looking. I was like, there has to be an AI village, right? Yeah, it's all the way on the right on the bottom. It's actually pretty
Oh
close
yeah,
to contest. Probably, I'll bet you that
it,
is going to be. I'll bet you the size of that village will be one of the mistakes this year. Making it the same
yeah.
size as the voting machine village is probably going to be it's probably going to be one of the more popular tracks this year, I think.
The one you pointed out and I pointed out before is this is still a trek. Like coming all the way down from the escalators, this hallway is
It long.
ginormous. It
It
is
long.
really long. Uh, but to get down here, it's still having the hardware hacking village back here is going to be so nice because the trek, was it in the Flamingo, I think?
Oh
That,
yeah. Yeah. And it was in the not just in the Flamingo, it was on the bottom floor. So like all of the other villages were on the top 2 floors, and then it was not only was it a trek, like getting down to that room was actually annoying. I hate the Flamingo's layout, just in general. And there is still stuff in the Flamingo. So it looks like the lower level stuff is where they put the workshops, and
let's see if I
then
can get back to
all of
this.
the other villages in that one long hallway, right? Which is cool. So I don't dislike having the villages. I have it. I can.
I think I got it right here. Here's the map.
Here,
Here's the
there you go.
overview. Oh, here I can
Sharing
share.
mine.
Be a little harder to share this out. Let me just see if I can find it. This is the Flamingo lower level.
Oh, gotcha. You have I'm using the info package.
Yeah, I'm definitely cheating right now because I found someone else's site online which downloaded all of these because I don't even know if these are officially released yet.
Yeah, they are.
So,
They released it. They released the info pack on defcon.org.
oh, nice.
So they're all
So
there.
this is where it used to be on the lower level of the Flamingo on these 2 rooms.
So let's talk about war stories. What
Yeah,
is the war stories track?
I don't have the foggiest idea.
I mean,
It's only
obviously, it's
Thursday.
a come tell a story about some nonsense you did, right? But is it like pre? Uh, I think the question is it like pre-curated, or is it going to be anyone who has a story is welcome to come tell one? That's my question. I presume
I
it's got to be curated.
I'm thinking it has to be curated. It what's kind of fun is I'm guessing it's DC 101, which is welcome to DEF CON, all of that, and then they're gonna just fall into war stories of, and it's probably I'm guessing it kind of works like Whose Slide Is It Anyway, where they curate the first like 10 contestants or first 20 and then kind of let people just come on up. I don't know if they just play music to like play them off the stage when they talk too long.
Yeah, it looks like looking at prior. This isn't the first year they've had war stories. I remember seeing it prior years, but I guess it's come and gone throughout the years. That's a big room though. That's why I was just like, wow.
I mean, it's track 2. I think it's going to be the only one open Thursday. Like, I don't think anything else happens Thursday. I'm going to flip subjects, though, off this one, unless you want to keep talking. And I want to talk about the badge this year. Because this is probably, and by the way, right before we do this comment cracks me up, which is, it was practically a quest to get to the hardware hacking area last year. Yes, it was so frustrating. One, it was exhausting carrying the equipment all the way over there, and then in the heat and all of that, but then just finding it. Like, if it wasn't for like a constant stream of people going back and forth, it would be impossible to find.
Well, so behind the scenes, one of the things last year, because the layout this year is pretty much the same. Before we showed up, we had to like plan our route to go get all of these videos, and we had to pre-contact everyone and say, hey, we're going to be in Flamingo from this time till this time. If you want to have a video, that's when we're there, and if you can't do it, we're not coming back. And it's because like there's just too much other things to do. And so that was definitely, and then we get there, and it took us half the day just to go down one hallway. And then we tried to find the hardware hacking village, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was definitely a quest.
Yeah, the other part of that, which was so weird, was when you went on the quest to get on over there and haul all the equipment. Like, it's kind of hilarious how much you trust the person in front of you. You're like, they look like a DEF CON goer. I'm going to follow them. And every once in a while, you realize that they have no idea where they're going down weird hall. Like, perfect example of this was Bally's Paris. It wasn't until like Saturday evening, or even, gosh, it was like maybe even Sunday, I found out, like, you come down the elevator and then you do this 20-minute walk all the way around to find out, like, Saturday night, if I just turned right, there was a little hallway, and you go out one door, go across the pool, and then you're right there, and it cut off like 30 minutes off the walking. Like, legitimately like a half an hour. Oh, it was so galling.
Yeah. Do you remember talking about this? Do you remember when the forum was just opening? I guess it was 29 was it 29 or was it 30? Last year was our first year in the forum.
Yeah.
Last year was the first year in the forum. So when they were originally opening it up, and people are like, oh, we're going to have everything in one place, it's going to be amazing. And I remember you and I going over the square footage and being like, this isn't enough room. We're still going to be split across multiple casinos. And now, you know, today we're still split across 3 casinos and the forum. It's not, it's 3 casinos and the forum. It's like, can we just move on to the convention center already?
Yeah, but the convention center, though, is like, someone explained this to me. One, it's not owned by Caesars, which is,
I know.
DEF CON. I mean, this isn't like a hidden secret. DEF CON stays with Caesars properties for any number of, like,
they have a long-term contract.
Yeah, they have a long-term contract. So it's like convention center isn't that, but convention center is like meant to do like hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know we're still too small for it, but it is frustrating because it's like having to go over to the Flamingo from the forum is still a trek. It is annoying. Anyway, I think so. What were we talking about next?
We were going to talk about the badge. The other one is, I think the other thing they found out with the forum is, like, originally the toxic barbecue was going to happen right outside the entry doors. And then for any number of reasons, it was like, oh no, we can't have barbecues there, or we can't do food out there. I can't remember. I don't know if it was a COVID restriction. It could have been. No, I'm guessing it was a forum restriction.
And apparently we learned last year that busking is illegal. Which is
that is utterly ridiculous. The fact that, though, I do have a follow-up. Teak, who was the one who was the busker violin, got a job through DEF CON. Like not by official DEF CON,
That's
but
great.
by doing that story and him busking, and then the one Michael doing hiring him to follow him around, he got a job. So like I need a follow up on
That's
that
awesome.
story because it's just so cool. You got like the free offensive security guys. All right, either way, gave him free shirts and all that badge. All right, so here is the badge. This is the teaser for the badge, and this is the spec for it, where there is going to be this sheath-like thing.
Bro, that's a condom.
Oh, hold on. This is the spec. Let me kind of get this in the center of the screen. This is the spec for it. It's an add-on, which you can then like kind of stick into it. So in my mind, when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, this is like an add-on. There's a attachment, but I'm guessing this is part of a larger badge. And this is what the understanding has been, is that this piece, the specs for this, somehow attaches to a bigger badge, which Make It Hacking started and released something like this. Let me get over to his piece here. And it makes it, the idea is that there's an overall badge. He's totally guessing. The only thing we have for sure is this clear plastic piece. Or maybe clear, maybe not, but there's a sheath, which you then stick the add-on in. But this is the first time I've seen it. It was yesterday, and I was looking through these pictures and go, okay, so Make It Hacking releases this, and there's this thing, which kind of dangles off and then sticks in. And then I started getting to his later images, and I started asking questions of going, I sure hope the Scav Hunt guys don't see this with enough time to make anything of their own. And we would all expect the Scav Hunt to not see this and not do anything with the idea of this object. And I'll leave that there.
I'm trying so hard to be civilized right now. We are adults.
I mean, turn your head and cough, and maybe that will clear your mind a little bit.
Nice.
I
do think, like, if you zoom in a bit on the baseboard,
on the baseboard,
on the baseboard.
Okay.
That is a really interesting layout. Like, do they have the opposite side? Did they show any of the chips?
Well, this isn't DEF CON. This is Make It Hacking's attachment.
This is Make It Hacking.
Yeah, so like
right.
DEF CON's badge would be this one in the orange. That would be ideally... Braden, thank you for that. Because we call that capsule the Chamber of Secrets. But the DEF CON badge would be the one in the orange. So Make It Hacking is just like totally mocking this thing up and guessing at where that thing is. The DEF CON badge will have the receiving end of the capsule. In electronics, if you have the male end of a plug and the female end of the plug, DEF CON's badge is the female. I'll stop here.
I feel like this is going to turn out worse than the urinal puck badge in terms of general civility.
I think I will say this. You know,
at least this badge won't cause a table at contests to get gassed by urinal cakes.
I will say it's a cool concept. I'll pull it back. It's a really cool concept because like SAOs, like that whole like creating the standard, which just changed a little bit, like was cool. Like, what was it, 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. There was the first like DEF CON official badge to have an SAO port on it, which is like the little add-ons. And I love this. Like, if I've been the first to make fun of, probably, maybe not the first, but like, to make fun of blinking LED badges. Braden put me in my place, and he was very smart in doing this, which was that is how people learn. When they learn electronics, the first thing they do is make an LED blink. And then it was like, my brain goes, oh, that makes perfect sense why so many of these, we'll say, new badges. I got upset, like, was the fact that you were selling a blinking LED badge for like $80, which is just utterly ridiculous. The SAOs, though, brought in a whole new realm of like, I can sell an SAO for $5, $6, $10, and not only make money to help fund my next project, but it doesn't need to do anything on beyond. In the what's so cool about this is the SAOs gave birth to like a whole new range of electronics at DEF CON and whole new art pieces and customization to badges. I could see this thing adding on to the customization. I can also see it adding on to the utter hilarity of how many obnoxious ones you can do. And right before I share out your image, I cannot wait. So harken back to the Darknet. Oh, what badge was that? I did a video on the Darknet badge spread STDs. And the way you would do that is you would put an infected eggplant into the badge, and it would then infect the badge. And then anytime you put an infected eggplant in, it would then spread to more badges. Please, for the love of all that's good and holy, I hope DEF CON has some communication port which is spread by, the tip of the badge. Like you insert just the tip and it will have a connection.
I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look like there's a connector on the tip there. But maybe
it's not.
I mean, it makes sense that there is.
It's not part of the spec. They haven't made it part of the spec. I know that.
So I guess there's just the sheath where you can like host other badges. Is that the point? I was laughing because this is like a competing SAO standard now, right? They tried to set up this SAO standard, and so now we have competing standards, which is XKCD's got something for every single one of these, right? There are 14 competing standards. I propose one to solve all standards. There are now 15 competing standards.
I am excited though. I will say that I am very excited that Digital Tinker. It was the DEF CON 27 badge that had the Conrad 2 for the STD badge. So I am excited because you can see a lot of customization, but I think if they continued this standard or this idea, it will be cool what comes the next year. And because this year everyone's just guessing at this thing. Because even with this thing, I am super worried. Oh yeah, Braden, you're right. It's a non-electronic badge this year, so it's not going to have any communication on it. My worry is though, if the badge is like this, the lanyard's going to sit here and the whole badge is going to hang crooked. And I hope beyond hope it is not like the record year where we're all just like tying. How do we attach this thing to the lanyard so it doesn't fall all over the place?
How do I not ruin the record? I have that record laying around somewhere. Off screen here, I just have bags and bags of electronics that I've collected from over the years at DEF CON that I just kind of let sit. Mine,
I just hang on the wall there. I was actually all happy I finally actually had the thing set up. I think I'm hoping beyond hope because the way they do badge design now isn't like Joe Grand is bequeathed upon to do it, or so-and-so is bequeathed upon to make the badge. Like how MK Factor got it was you put it out for a bid. Here is my idea, here's my concept, and they do it that way. The last non-electronic badge I was excited about, I think it was like DEF CON 21 or 23, I think it was. Which was the cards they did, like the DEF CON card deck. Those ones were incredible. Those were for non-electronic. So since then, non-electronic has been like the rubber ones, which were really just like
Well, that was a flub year. Remember, like the stuff didn't show up in time or whatever, and they had to get something done, so they got those done. So that's just like that was a flub year,
but it was still supposed to be the non-electronic year, I think.
Right.
So, but if you think back, like the last non-electronic badge that was, I think the last one that was actually a non-electronic badge was the card deck.
I think you're right.
So like that sets a pretty high bar for the non-electronic ones.
I'm excited to see I always like the non-electronic ones in part because the puzzles that go along with it are always, they're always more accessible in that sense. Because, anyone who shows up who has any amount of we'll say crypto puzzle training can engage in it without bringing maybe not bringing any equipment, but a lot less.
I have an idea, and it would be really cool. I'm throwing out a guess here, that you have the badge, and it would be interesting if the badge inserts into itself. So like, think about this. You have a badge. There's a hole on this side and a thing dangling on this side, so you can click the badges together. It would be super interesting if like the artist badge clicked in and then the crypto changed because it's incorporating the piece you're sticking into it.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. You're a terrible person. Gowry's messaging me on the side to make sure I'm not putting my foot in my mouth, which I obviously am. But is this idea of I don't know. I think that would be really cool to have it like change the crypto when you insert other pieces. But yes, it will be a hermaphroditic badge, I think is the word, which we're
we're
saying.
children, man. Like I said, this is I honestly hope that it is in some senses worse than the urinal puck badge. First of all, the urinal puck badge was actually really cool. That was the one with the cochlear implant, if I remember, or something like that. Yeah. And so like I would almost say that one's obviously an electronic badge,
isn't
right?
it cochlear, not cochlear?
Yeah. Whatever.
Gosh, I don't even know how you said that word.
Like I think that one, depending on how I still have it around somewhere. Depending on how you want to classify it. No, I don't have it behind me. Depending on how you want to classify it, that one's kind of a non-technical badge. It obviously has it and they communicate, but it didn't have like your job was to go around and meet people with the different badges, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't really a technical badge in the traditional sense.
Thank you, Chad. Yes, we were both children on the street. It was still like this one. I am kind of curious because every non-electronic one, like you need to collect them all, and I'm hoping they make use of this. The other thing I do have to wonder, we're guessing at this thing. We're guessing at like you insert it this way, and we think it's going to be utterly ridiculous. But at the same time, like someone is designing this thing with an idea in mind. But the pieces, not all the badge creators are, we'll say, DEF CON aware. I don't know who's making the one this year, but
it's
they're
not
like,
MK Fact.
I don't think it is. I think the MK Factor was 2 years, and then I think someone else got the bid this year. And they might not always be DEF CON aware. I don't think MK Factor was really like DEF CON aware. They were badge makers, like that is their business. And then they've got introduced and they get part of the family type of thing. But they don't know the utterly ridiculousness where they have an idea for this, and then they're introduced to 30,000 hackers who will impress their own idea onto this thing. And I'm curious how those two things are going to interact at DEF CON this year.
Let's get degenerate.
So let's spin back to video. I think spinning all the way back to it, I think like my ideas for this year revolve much more around how can we share the experience of con versus how can we show the stuff at con. And I think that's what I would like to focus on, but it also opens us up to say, I think the videos are going to be a little rougher this year and less here, like, because they're not going to be built around, here is this thing, here is what this is, here is what this is. It's going to be a lot more like impromptu in the moment thing. So I don't know how those are going to get cut together.
I suppose we'll find out. It's going to be an adventure. This one's going to be new. I'll probably bring my camera as well this year so I can take pictures while... Yo, dog, I heard you like cameras, so I'll use my camera while I use my camera.
I'm bringing two this year as well. So it's going to be, I'll have video of the very nice video camera I have, and then we'll have a less expensive normal camera. Actually, it's right behind me. The thing I like, though, is I have, again, this is going to show up. Oh, just put it like right here. I'll actually be able to use my favorite lens, which is
nice.
Both very, very wide and very, very telephoto. It's like 35 to 150, which is a huge, for anyone who does photography, it's a huge range, which will work both for like, hey, we're going to do a quick video and I can then do this type of thing. And then I can carry it around and do photos. So I'm actually happy to have two cameras this year.
Take pictures from all the way down that long Caesars Forum and creep on somebody all the way at the end.
The one, I don't have one of those lenses, which could do like a 400 millimeter and then 2x it to like 800 millimeter.
I've actually been surprised by this. I have the Galaxy S22. This thing can do like, I think it's like X100 or something ridiculous. Oh yeah, I'll show it to you when we get there. Like if you wanted to shoot, like I've done zoom ins of somebody off on a hill in a distance and been like, I can't believe these tiny lenses. It has 5 lenses, so each one of these lenses is a different zoom. Yeah.
Yep. They've gotten really good. Now, I mean, like, I think what they're doing is they're shooting at 50 megapixels. So it's collecting enough data on the sensor, which you can just stretch into a digital zoom and whatnot. But yeah, it's quite ridiculous. And then like what they're do is especially the video, they're do like 8K and then they downsample and they record the 4K. So it allows you to actually do like 4K while digital zoomed in, which is super weird to me.
That's crazy.
But that's the plan for this year. That I think it's a less equipment, multiple cameras, and taking you guys on as many adventures as we can.
So Buffer, we might do something live, but if we do, it's going to be kind of ad hoc. So we'll find out. There's a possibility that DEF CON may have a place for us to put up base camp. I don't know if it'll be accessible generally, but if we do something live, it might be like we go back there. We have a group. We go back there, maybe do a live stream or something. We'll figure it out.
I don't know how we can do live. So the moment we do something live requires us to bring a lot more equipment. So the only way I know of to do it,
do the influencer thing and just go live on YouTube with our phones.
That's the only way. But then you're dealing with an iPhone mic. So now I have to bring an external mic for a microphone, which we can't.
No, we'll just use the iPhone mic. It's fine. We'll just sound like shit.
I think the counter to that, though, and this is where so the DJI mics actually connect into the phone. Garrett, Hacker Warehouse, letting us borrow those again, which is great. But apparently they make a selfie stick for the DJI mics. So you can have like a little and just like stick it in someone's face, which is going to be awkward.
I was literally about to say, all right, guys, this is the year you see Silk and I walking around with selfie sticks because we got to get selfies.
Can we actually do that? I think that's a scavenger hunt thing. We need just like
just empty selfie sticks. Actually, it's a selfie stick, but what's on the end is a literal physical flag for people in at not capture flag at scavenger hunt to try and capture.
Oh gosh.
You gotta come up and grab the flag off of the selfie stick.
I do actually wonder, is every other, like with a gimbal and things like that, it's very clear to see we're recording. It would be interesting to have a selfie stick, which is legitimate, like we're recording, like have a big red sign,
just
recording.
Off of my back.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's a bad plan at all.
If we just put a backpack on you and have, oh gosh, that reminds me of Command Code had his badge, which he found the brightest LEDs he could possibly find. And they were blinding, and just put that at the top. Like you could see that probably from space. Like it was so ridiculous.
That was awesome. I wonder if he's doing another badge anytime soon.
I hope he does. He was doing metallurgy. He actually got.
That's right. He's been casting.
He was casting rings and whatnot. That was really cool. With that, I don't know. It is interesting year, and I am pumped to do it. I am pumped that my autofocus will finally work, and audio won't be muffled. which I am pumped about. With that, though, what do you got for us?
Not much. I'm excited to take some time and get over the DEF CON again. It's, time to recharge a bit.
Ooh, and one other thing that will be unique this year, I have a roommate. I am sharing a hotel room with someone. Ooh.
Hit me.
I am
Time
excited.
to cuddle.
It is you. We will have our cuddle times. With that, thank you for hanging out with us on Saturday. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we will see you at DEF CON 31. Thanks for watching. Hack on!